Hello and welcome to another episode of the Truth About Real Estate Investing show. The little Canadian podcast meant only for Canadian real estate investors, which makes up like 1-2% of the Canadian population. The number 39th ranked country in terms of population. Yet this little show manages to punch above its weight with our number 81 ranking in all of iTunes in the business category. So that's not even the real estate category, let alone investing category, let alone real estate investing, but rather all of business. We're not even that well rated as we have numerous haters. And to the annoyance of my team, I almost never ask for 5-star reviews, which are much appreciated. I do appreciate all the kind words that people leave, that they leave on our reviews. I do read them all. So I should ask for more, as the algorithms actually use reviews and shares and subscriptions to make this show more prominent on the interwebs. And I don't know how this all works, but yeah, the more positive stuff, more sharing happens, the more iTunes and whoever else, Spotify, YouTube, will make this show more available to others, more visible to others, and thus reach more people who want to learn the actual truths about real estate investing versus someone who has an agenda to sell garbage investments. That's the honest truth. The truth about real estate investing is one's investments are if one's investments are garbage, they will eventually catch up to you. For example, Paramount Equity Financial Corporation. I don't think I need to be worried about being sued by them. Hopefully not. Paramount Equity and Financial Corporation. They were in the news just recently as the receiver. So the accounting company, which is taking control of the fund, is currently suing the developer partner of Paramount for stealing funds from the retail investors who are friends of mine. Many of them are friends of mine who are just average, hardworking, everyday Canadians. As someone who's followed the case closely, because again, I have friends invested in it, I have clients invested in it, the whole fund and investments look terrible. Same with the fund management, hence they were shut down by the Ontario Securities Commission. Rightly so, as the fund managers changed the investment focus of their private fund, they weren't disclosing that they had changed. The original intention of the fund was that it would only fund second mortgages. The funds would be used for private lending on second mortgages on people's principal residences. Instead, the fund managers pivoted to fund large land developments to build large projects like retirement homes or converting properties into something else. Again, large, complicated, multi-million-dollar projects that would take years to complete, some of them without even permits or the zoning to do so. So the underlying investment changed completely while offering what I consider, and I think pretty much everyone would consider, very low returns to the investor compared to the amount of risks they took on. I take responsibility to learn from this experience, so this may never happen again to anyone I care about. My lesson is to invest in oneself. I read a lot. Taking a lot of courses, and at the end of the day, Cherry and we control our assets, as in they are 90% of our real estate portfolio is under our own names or controlled and owned by corporations that only Cherry and I own. Yes, being more active means more effort and time, but I avoid losses, which is rule number 1 by Warren Buffett. Don't lose money. And even though we're very boring, I consider our investing quite boring. And same with our clients. Our clients' investing is incredibly boring. It's systematic, it's repeatable by anyone, and they've achieved world-class results. In turn, I educate myself, gain experience, and create more value for our coaching clients. My business, the iWin Real Estate team, is a bit different than others, though in that we are licensed realtors, and we've coached our 400-something clients into execution of world-class investment property, and the numbers show. Excluding the pandemic run-up, our clients' average 5-year return from between 2015 to January 2020 was about 341%. That works out to about 68%. Again, this data was done internally by surveying our own clients. We know what our clients own, and we're pretty good at estimating what those properties are worth. Again, that data was 2015 to January 2020, before the pandemic run up. While the media keeps pouring out stories of folks struggling to afford higher interest rates on their mortgages, my clients are making travel plans and retirement plans and traveling while retired, and some are even buying houses for their kids at these lovely prices that we're seeing right now. At the Wealth Hacker Conference, our keynote speaker, Jesse Itzler, shared that his secret to success was to pour his heart and soul into each project, whether it be a private jet company or a marathon through Death Valley. Yeah, I think you need to give everything you got to train for a marathon through Death Valley, plus 40-degree weather. For me, you better believe I poured my heart and soul into managing our 8-figure real estate portfolio, and in terms of lessons for our friends and clients to create their own means towards financial peace. No, it's not easy, but it sure beats losing money and having taxes, governments, and inflation eat away at your wages and savings. Multiple streams of income, it's the only way. And it's only getting worse as my bold predictions for 2023 and beyond. Speaking of bold predictions, in contrast to what the Bank of Canada and U.S. reserves are saying, my bold prediction is we'll see an interest rate cut sooner than they say so. And this is actually interesting. For the first time in, as far as I can remember, again, I read pretty much everyone's economic predictions. I find that I'm usually moderate. But I find that I seem to be more, the term is dovish, I believe. I believe the market will turn around before most. And this is like the first time that I'm more optimistic than most of what's out there in the media. My team and I will be sharing bold predictions for Canadian real estate on January 28th at our in-person IWIN meeting. We do have a new format. With all the folks working from home, we're focusing more on networking this year, so you don't want to miss this. You never know what connection or introduction you'll receive that will change the trajectory of your career. Work career or investing career. Want to learn how big-time professional apartment buildings invest? Are you interested in multifamily investing? Then you don't want to miss our guest speaker from Equiton, Lawrence Raponi. I've asked Lawrence to share the benefits of investing in a real estate investment trust and how their company invests. Specifically, how do they find deals and what numbers of returns they need before even considering making an offer. What I want for our attendees is to understand the relative difference between investing passively versus being completely active. In my humble opinion, one must earn at least 3 times more than the passive rate to consider being active. Plus, I know many are looking for cash flow, and REITs often make regular cash distributions, so you want to be there January 28th, doors at 8:30 a.m. Optional mastermind to follow after that, and I will be there as well. From the questions that I'm getting in my email and from you, my 17 listeners, in my DMs, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty, and honestly, my team and I can likely be a lot of help. We've been at this for a little bit, and if you're on my email newsletter, then you're already receiving events to our invites. And if not, that's just silly. www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. Enter your name and email address on the right side, and you're good to go. Just this past week, we actually just gave a free webinar on how to sell a tenanted property. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and it was a great presentation. If you're interested in how to maximize your income when you exit your investment property and it's tenanted, you want to have watched that presentation. I know it's late January, but Happy New Year to you, my 17 listeners. I wish I knew all your names as I'd shout you out. On the personal note, December wasn't a fun month for Terry and I. Even with the Wealth Hacker Conference behind us, we couldn't get away on vacation. Not that we didn't try. We had a Caribbean cruise booked as we had credits left over from 2018, and we had to use them before they expire. We had a pile of airplane miles accumulated over the last 3 years because we couldn't fly thanks to COVID. Unfortunately, on December 16th, my daughter Robin complained of an earache. We swim a lot, so I suspected an ear infection, confirmed by an ER doctor at 11 a.m. before our 6 a.m. flight to Florida. So we had to cancel everything. We had a little insurance, but I found out, so we got some money back. but my Aeroplan miles are gone. And yeah, we still have to make a travel insurance claim is made, and you still have to get paid. More importantly, we were not going on a badly needed vacation, but we booked everything again for the second week of January. But unfortunately, the cruise cost 20% more than the one we canceled. We do like to travel for cheap, hence we had originally chosen the cheapest week, but we made the best of the situation aboard a gorgeous ship. We ate, at least for myself, I ate way too much as the food was excellent. We took full advantage of the complimentary babysitting. Where basically my son played Nintendo the most of the time. My daughter did crafts. Every day she'd bring home like 5 pieces of crafts. We hit the beach, and the highlight for me was taking the kids snorkeling in open water for the first time. Bruce took to the experience quite well, pretty quickly. Robin held onto my arm the whole time. It was kind of sweet. The kids are used to murky lakes in Ontario and backyard pools, so small and you can't see much. So it wasn't a big deal to me, but for them, yes, it was a brand new experience. Hopping into a clear open water that looks like it goes on forever, and all the aquatic life was a bit of a shock to their senses. We are but grains of sand compared to the grand expanse that is the Atlantic Ocean. We saw sea turtles, we saw a stingray. My daughter and I were early to one beach, and we were fortunate enough to see an octopus. Unfortunately, no one else on the beach saw it, but fortunately enough, I was looking in these coral crevices and these hollows in the coral, and I happened to see a pretty sizable octopus. It was hiding, but I managed to see it. It's hard to miss 8 arms. I've scuba dived quite a bit, so I know a bit about how to look around and find those goodies. Hence, we were the only 2 on the beach to find the octopus. And later we saw pufferfish as well. So it was super cool, very rewarding. I'll count that as a memory made with our clients. Not clients, kids. Kids. Yes, kids are important. It's not just about business. On to this week's show. We have something different in that our guest is a successful entrepreneur in the world of business and not real estate investing yet. So don't get mad, folks. I'm warning you now. This episode is not just about real estate investing, but we have an entrepreneur expert who does have. So first off, I view real estate investors as entrepreneurs in the real estate industry. Either as realtors, mortgagers, and even investors. You are still a small business owner. Anyways, Nick Kindler is the chapter president of Entrepreneurs Organization, a private membership of 7-figure entrepreneurs that Cherry and I also belong to. As a member of the real estate community, I find learning from entrepreneurs outside of our real estate community just as helpful. So I learn from both areas, from both communities, and just to broaden my learning. I also see all these memberships being promoted. These memberships and masterminds that cost $20,000 to $30,000 or more per year. But I wanted for you, my 17 listeners, to be aware of other mastermind membership groups that are available. It's an entrepreneurs organization, which I've been part of for 3 years. I'm a big fan of, and it costs less than $10,000 a year. So the value, in my opinion, is there. Who better to talk to about entrepreneurship than our very own chapter president, again, Nick Kindler, who happens to be my client, who's working with my team member, Chris the Captain Hook, to acquire quality investment properties. Nick is here today to share his experience as an EO member, the president, his entrepreneurial journey, which includes sadly a $4.5 million business that did go bankrupt, unfortunately, but more importantly, how he bounced back. And also there are lessons in there. So again, I would like you all to avoid the same mistakes. FYI, failing businesses, losing money, and letting staff go is not a fun experience. So do make sure you take notes. If you'd like to learn more about Entrepreneurs Organization, please reach out to Nick on his company website, kindlerandcompany.com/contact, or you can hit me up on email and DM. You can look up your own local chapter. You can really just Google the name of your city and Entrepreneurs Organization. I'll be at the open house that Nick mentions on March 9th likely in downtown Toronto. So I hope to see you there. I've got a link in the show notes for it. Nick's consulting business. So to explain Nick's Nick's entrepreneur experience, his current business, it is a consulting business that helps innovative leaders communicate better. For example, I attended Nick's 2-day workshop on how to give a TED Talk, which was excellent, where Nick had deconstructed for us what goes into an excellent talk, and then walked us through how to write our own and also how to deliver with stage presence. So we learned about storytelling, about joke writing, about being vulnerable, about body language. We learned all those things in a 2-day workshop. Nick is also the author of Impact, Simplify, Transform, and Perform Pitches and Presentations, available at www.impactbook.ca. Without further ado, I give you Nick Kindler. Hey Nick, what's keeping you busy these days?
Well, podcasting, just sitting here with you is keeping me busy today. This is great because today, I looked at today as kind of like almost like a day off. I have a conversation with you, and then a couple of quick calls, and then I get to go and be part of my forum group, which is part of EO, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But what's keeping me busy? I have amazing clients that I get to coach one-on-one, webinars that I'm running, workshops that we provide to help leaders become better communicators. Just had a great offsite with my team this week, planning the next quarter. And we have some really great consulting clients we're working with too. So I am full tilt. Like each day is full. I hit the pillow and I fall asleep pretty quick. And I'm having a lot of fun.
So I started reading Miracle Morning again. So you're familiar?
With what, sorry?
The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod. He's a 5 a.m. guy.
Yeah, okay.
What time do you get up? Just curious.
5:30 every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The show is called The Truth About Real Estate Investing. So tell me the truth. Do you get up like on fire, motivated?
What's my routine? Is
Sure.
that what you're asking,
Yeah.
or is it
just
like
quick? Just because I just started getting up early again.
So I don't wake up on fire. No. I mean, I'm foggy. But I have a process to get me going. And it's now been almost a year that I've done this process, and it's changed my mindset completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And maybe it's kind of taken from the Miracle Morning, but, so I wake up at 5:30. I write in my journal for about 20 to 30 minutes, free form thoughts. But I start first with 3 things I'm grateful for. And so I write those down, and I try and make them different every day, meaning I can't repeat what I said before. So I'm always trying to find things that I'm grateful for. And then I free form thoughts. Sometimes they're like just garbage. It's just garbage out on the page. And sometimes it's the impetus for things that I speak about and keynotes that I deliver, or sometimes it's just problem solving stuff that I've got to deal with during the day, and I'm thinking about it already. And then
putting it to paper. Right.
A book just like this, and I'm writing a couple of pages down, and then I close it up, and I have a cup of coffee. I Wordle.
That game.
Yeah, I Wordle. I do that. If I didn't get to it today because the day was a little different, and then I go for a run or I bike. I try and do push-ups and sit-ups and crunches. I don't do like a million of them. I just do a small set. And I have not looked at my phone and my email yet, just to be clear. I've Wordled. I haven't turned everything on. Then I go for a walk with my dogs and throw the ball for them, come back, and then I get going. I either get to the office or I open up my laptop and I start thinking about the day. If I'm rushed to get to a client, sometimes things get shortened, but for the most part, that's my process.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing this?
I started that process. The journaling exercise has always been there, but the journaling and gratitude has been the last 10, 11 months.
Oh, okay.
And it really has changed my life. Like I used to be a New York Times addict, a headlines addict, Globe and Mail addict. I would look at what was happening in the world politics, war, and it fed into a stress of and an overall feeling of negativity. And I still look at that stuff, but on my terms and at different times, more regimented. So I have a diet of that stuff. And it didn't serve me. I feel that I'm still well read. I understand what's going on in the world, but I do it on my timeline and when I've gotten things out of the way that I want to get out of the way.
So that's not why I invited you on the show.
Okay. All right.
But I think it's important to bring up because I've spoken to a lot of people. 2022 was not a good year for many. Mostly in mental health terms.
Yeah.
Let's say for many people, mental health terms. Like no one likes these high interest rates. It's a bit. My community's a bit divided.
Yeah.
In that, like, my clientele's doing amazing. Like everyone knows, if you've owned property for 5 or more years, you've done amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my clientele.
Yeah.
But when I go outside of my circles and like other people who are like generally newer,
Yeah.
a lot of them are getting hurt financially.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
overall, I think mental health was a bad year for 2022. It's just my sense is what I see out there.
Well, I would say yes, and so was 2021, and so was 2020.
Oh yeah.
And so what I would hypothesize is that we're now seeing ripple effects of what's happened from COVID. Like there was a lot of stress. I mean, last time I was here, when you showed me around your office, which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
It was quiet. There was like 2 of us here, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And now there's full house almost, like it's pretty busy. And that was during COVID, right? Or we were allowed to connect. We weren't breaking any rules or anything like that. We weren't on lockdown, but it was quiet. People were not. That has an impact on people. When your life comes to a screeching halt, financially, socially, psychologically, that has an impact on people. And I think there's waves of change, and that it comes back and people, it impacts people. So you mentioned interest rates. That's just the current ripple that it may be an impetus for people going, oh, I'm not good. I'm not doing so well. And I would say, just because you mentioned mental health, if anybody is struggling with it, get help. There's lots of help to be had. I have a very close family member that struggles deeply with mental health, and I will be the first to say, don't wait for Bell Let's Talk Day. Talk about it now. There's nothing wrong. If you've got a cold and you tell people you're sick, that's honesty and truth about how you're doing. If you're feeling very, very low because you're suffering from depression, that is the same thing. Talk to people about it. Get help. You can get help. People will help you.
So that's actually a really good segue.
That's my soapbox. Sorry.
That's a really good segue for Entrepreneurial Organization.
Yeah.
Which you are the president of the Toronto chapter.
Currently the president, yes.
Which is the largest chapter in Canada by quite a bit, isn't it?
No, we're the second largest.
To who?
To Vancouver.
How big of a territory do they cover?
Vancouver, and I believe Edmonton is a close third. And they're a really great chapter as well.
Right.
Lots of great chapters all across Canada. Yeah.
I imagine we have more chapters as a province than other provinces. So we're just fragmented.
Yeah, I mean.
We're getting off topic.
Sure, no problem.
My point is that I've been part of masterminds for years.
Yeah.
Right, and those have been my places to connect and to talk about problems that we face in business and life, and in my experience, so I've been part of EO now. I joined in 2020, January 2020.
Yeah, so you joined like eight months after I did.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the shit hit the fan with COVID immediately after.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. So for
that's one way to put it.
So just to back up for the listeners' benefit, Entrepreneurs Organization. Well, you know it better than I am. You are the president.
Go for it, man. I'd love to hear you say it, and then I will course correct if need be.
Please. Just some basic highlights. It's a private organization. I tell people it's basically a co-op.
It's a nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Okay, that's probably a better term.
Yeah.
So basically, does not make money. That's probably a good reason why the cost is very low. It's been around for quite some time. Minimum to join, $1 million revenue US a year. You have to apply, and it's quite a bit of commitment.
It is a commitment, but it's worth its weight in gold. Is that a phrase we can say on an investment podcast? It really is, though. It was probably, I've got some things that I'll say, like, were some of the best, I love that question, like, what are the best things you ever bought, right? And I will say my dogs. Like, they've been some of them have been a big suck on financials sometimes, but they've brought us so much joy and happiness. And it's not a thing that we get that appreciates. It's a thing that I love, right? Or a dog is a creature that I love. EO, one of the best investments I've ever made in myself. And so you did a great job. It's a nonprofit. In Toronto, we're about 130 members strong, and it's growing every day. Every day we have people applying, and it's member vetted. So you apply, you do have to have a minimum of $1 million US in revenue for your business. And you also have to apply and be able to show that you live the values of EO. And then we vet your members. You're interviewed, you're vetted by the board, you're vetted by all members. And then you get to join this amazing, not just local group of EO Toronto, but the region and the global community. And it's a powerful community. And I think, I'm going to keep going, if that's all right, and explain why it's a powerful community. Because
actually, before you do that,
go ahead.
It's been a while since I've been tested on what the values were. So
no!
I feel the values.
Don't do this to me! Don't do this to me! Don't do this to me! Oh, I'm gonna have to refer to them because I cannot remember off the top of my head. I know be bold.
Yeah, be bold.
And I've turned my phone off in order to do this. I knew that I should have known you were going to ask me, but I'm going to look them up, and then you can edit this if you want. I don't know if you're going to. It is, think big, be bold. Where is it? Where are we?
Because I had to fill these out in my application.
Right. Okay. So the values.
So it's been 3 years.
And it's brutal because I'm terrible with these kinds of recall. So I'm sorry to all my EO members that I didn't remember this. But trust and respect, thirst for learning, which is one of the reasons why I love this organization. Think big, be bold, and together we grow. And that last one is a huge one for me as the current president. Our theme for the year is Stronger Together. We've came out of COVID, and I want people to recognize as this community that we really are the sum of our parts. Like, we are stronger when we work, when we collaborate, when we share, and we grow together. And, one of the amazing things about EO and those values is that you have to have those when you get in. And then one of the things that I'm doing today is participating in one of the really the tent poles, if you will, of EO is Forum. And so when I leave here today, I drive into the city and I'm going to have a 3.5-4 hour meeting with 8 individuals, all who embrace these values, and all will share what is going on in their personal lives, in their family lives, and in their business lives. Because as entrepreneurs, we can sit here and, if we didn't know each other and we didn't have this EO connection, what might happen is, hey, nice to meet you. How are you? Good. What do you do? I do this. What do you do? Great. Tell me more about your business. Here's what we do. Here's what we do. Great. Superficial. But
no different than what you put on social media.
Exactly.
One would put on social media. Yeah.
But because you and I know each other through EO, and we've met, we're not in forum, but we've met at events and we've chatted before.
And we're sworn to privacy.
And we're sworn to privacy.
Yeah.
We can dive quickly and deeply into challenges, real challenges. Like, how are you doing? Cash flow is concerning me right now. Oh, well, have you experienced this or this? Oh, I haven't. Why? Well, because when I experience this, let me share and this is a big part of what EO Forum is all about, experience sharing. We can get to a better place faster. So my relationships with people in my forum are incredible. But I also have friendships, real deep friendships with people that I sit on the board with, that I've met just through learning events, that are other members, that I also trust. I trust that what I share with them is not going to be broadcast to other people or shared at a cocktail party, that they get what I'm going through because likely they've either experienced it or they know other people that have experienced it.
Yeah, because I've gone to the forum training just recently again.
Oh, nice.
Just the online stuff.
Yeah.
And for folks, just to clarify again, by forum, the more common term would be mastermind, except that we have a defined
process.
Yeah. We've had to go through mandatory training. Our forum is committed to 10 meetings, or more commonly referred to as mastermind meetings, and also we each are required to share our what we call top 5%.
Yeah, or the 5%, right?
Yeah.
And I love
the
term
top 5% and bottom 5%.
That's right.
Right. The good news and the terrible news that you don't share with anyone else.
Right. and so it's cathartic. I mean, that's the word that comes to mind. It's cathartic. You can celebrate those wins, and there is a process by which you do this. Like, if somebody in my forum group, and it doesn't happen very often, is skating by and not sharing the real 5%, and that 5% is what's really going on beneath the surface. What's really going on in your family? What's really going on up here in your brain? And what's really going on with your business. And if everything's great, then I'm not as interested. I'm not looking for drama and tragedy, although we've supported and we will support people who are going through tough times. And that's one of the reasons why we are there. We are there at forum, or they can pick up the phone, and I know I can pick up the phone and call any of them at any time, by the way, who will support me because they know I've got their back and they've got mine.
So I would say these are some of the deepest relationships people have anywhere in their lives. Sometimes even more deeper than their spouses. Sometimes even deeper than their working partners.
In some cases, yeah, that's very true. And I would say that's unfortunate for some, and also what a wonderful opportunity because it's together we grow, right? Let's grow. Let's learn how we can have better relationships. And look, EO, we've just touched on forum, but I've talked about how we've chatted and met many times at learning opportunities. We're going to go to the one coming up next week, and we host incredible learning opportunities, once in a lifetime learning experiences for entrepreneurs that want to take their business or their personal lives or their families to the next level. I know that sounds like an odd way to position it, but we can have speakers on negotiation and marketing, but we can also have speakers that come in and talk about how to have better relationships, how to have better sex lives. I mean, it's everything.
It's comprehensive. It's holistic.
Yeah.
Right. We had the author of 5 Love Languages. I think it was still pretty heavy pandemic time, so it might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
And that was available to everyone, was it not?
Yep.
every EO member across the globe.
Yes.
And and again, we got the author.
Yeah.
So that's pretty, and it didn't cost us any extra.
That's the thing is, there is an investment when you first join.
Yeah.
But it's actually not ridiculous, considering, well, I can tell you that within minutes of joining this organization, I was able to find the right lawyer to help me with something. I was able to find the right, I was looking for something for my home, so I got a supplier that through EO that had the right supplies and an incredible cost. So I saved thousands of dollars there, and I saved hours and hours of stress, and probably more than thousands of dollars on the lawyer. And that's all within 6 months of joining EO. Not to mention the support that I received from my forum group. So I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, and this is my little pitch. If you're an entrepreneur in Toronto, but I'm going to even go beyond. If you're an entrepreneur in a major city center, and you're in the States or anywhere around the globe, there's very likely an EO chapter in your city. We're all over the world. I want to say over 140,000 members across the globe. That number is slightly off, I think, maybe 135. However, if you're building a business that's about $1 million in revenue at US dollars, or if you're close to it, go and look for that EO chapter, because number one, there's an accelerator program, EOA, Entrepreneurs Organization Accelerator.
Terry was part of it before, yeah.
And it'll take you from 250, 500, up to $1 million, and then you can join EO.
So just to add in there, from my experience of Entrepreneur EOA, the accelerator program, I'd highly recommend it for anyone, especially if they did not do business school. If they have no formal business training, this is crazy inexpensive.
Yeah.
And the people that are in it and that teach it, so understand, I came from business school.
Ah, okay.
The people who are teaching are largely academics.
Yeah.
They may have a business as a consultant, so they operated a business of one themselves.
Right.
But they were never in our world.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the same experiences. They could never talk to you about like how is it to fire someone, right?
No.
Like right? Things like that. Versus again, EOA, you're going to. Do you remember the price? Again, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. This is an investment show. We do need to talk about the investment.
I don't remember the price for EOA. I'm sorry, I don't. But here's the thing. If you want to know more about EO, will my email be?
Oh, you want to give up your email? I wouldn't recommend giving up your email.
Well, if you want to go to
maybe your website.
Yeah,
how about your website?
You can go to my website. You can go to info@kindlerandcompany.com.
Got it.
I am happy to share with you anything and point you in the right direction. There's chapters all over the world. There's chapters in Toronto. There's chapters in southwestern Ontario, Montreal, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary. I could keep going
Ottawa.
Yeah. And EOA is a great way to get yourself fast. It's an accelerator to a larger business. And then if you want to sustain and scale your business and have a good life, be a good person, be a happier person, EO is the ticket. I'll share a quick story just on this, because I never actually thought about that specifically until recently. Shane Bennett and his wife Sean were over for dinner just before the holidays. And when I sat on the board serving under Shane, became very close with him. I just really liked him as a leader. I follow he's been a good friend and a mentor as I've taken on this role of president of the chapter.
He's pretty amazing.
He's an amazing man. Love him, and his wife's amazing too. We've all become very good friends, and I raised a glass. I said, "Hey Shane, I just want to say thank you for being such a good friend and a good leader. And my wife interrupted me, which I thought was kind of weird. She goes, I'm going to go further. She goes, working with you was exceptional for Nick, and I just need you to know that EO changed his life. And I was like, my wife is not dramatic at all. She said, EO has changed him. He's a better leader. He's a better entrepreneur. He's a better person ever since he's joined this organization. And I sat back and I went, okay, I guess I better stick around then.
I did not authorize that statement.
Yeah. Well, and that means a lot. She's not a highly emotive and declarative person. Like, she certainly speaks her mind, but I found it interesting that she felt compelled to say that.
Mm-hmm. I should clarify. I mentioned to you before we were recording that even though we're talking about entrepreneurs and businesses, I always consider real estate investors to be small business operators.
Yeah.
So they are by definition an entrepreneur, just that they're in the industry of real estate investing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think everything we're talking about today applies to them. The accelerator program has the accelerator days. I forget the name of them. They have four
each year. Yeah.
Yeah, four each year, and basically the main pillars of business, like cash flow management.
Yep.
Which is a big problem these days for many people. Yep. They call it people, which more people
People management.
People management. More people know it as HR.
Yep.
Strategy day, and execution.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a 2-year cycle to go through so every 2 years they start over.
Yeah.
But again, I attended these. I paid a lot of money for business school. People are paying way more today because I'm old, so I paid a less inflated price for business school. People today are paying double, triple what I paid, and what EO charges for these courses is nothing.
It's great, and there are a lot of members of EO that like to go to those just for learning
and bring their staff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm bringing my staff member to next week's workshop on marketing, on corporate branding. Right? Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Me too.
Yeah. So if anyone else wants to ask my experience as well, feel free to reach out. The usual channels. But yeah, that's enough about EO. So actually, it's great to have you come on talk about EO because I haven't been a member that long, and I haven't been in business that long either. But you're a successful entrepreneur.
Define successful entrepreneur.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And also we have this confidentiality thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we switch gears, I do want to just say one more thing about EO, which is that you get out of it what you put into it. Yeah. And I think it's really important. It's like if you sit there and expect everything to come to you, it's like anything in life. Yeah. It won't. And I'll just finish by, I know we're switching gears into entrepreneurship, and I'm happy to, but I think I'd be remiss to say, the forum experience that I've had, the going to learning days and learning experiences, going to the conferences.
Quebec City was amazing.
Quebec City and Victoria's coming up in June. I get to go to Cape Town to go to the Global Leadership Conference in April. There's all kinds of learning. Also because I volunteered to be on the board, which was also a growth and learning opportunity. So I think it would be remiss if I didn't say, it's a wonderful organization,
right.
and it thrives on the volunteer. On the volunteer community.
Right.
And so I'm one of those many volunteers. Mm-hmm. And I guess I would just say join and get involved. Mm-hmm. And also for all those volunteers at EO that may be listening to this, thank you. It's awesome. Thank you for everything you do.
Because you are a volunteer president too.
Absolutely.
You don't get paid like a $400,000 salary.
No, I don't. In fact, I think I might be giving the equivalent of that in time. All joking aside, I love it, and it's been very rewarding and continues to be.
And my last point about the topic is this: why the cost is so low is because all these talented people are volunteering their time.
Yeah. And the people you get to meet, not just from your chapter, but the region and around the globe. are exceptional leaders.
Yeah, and just because we didn't discuss price, but I'm paying less than $10,000 for just the membership, and that includes many events. Doesn't include like the bigger ones like Victoria, Quebec City, but the local ones, almost everything's included.
Yeah,
including like the holiday party, which is a great party at the Grand. But yeah, okay, enough about that. And so again, the show is about investment though.
Yeah.
But for self-development, investing in yourself, the value here is incredible.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, reach out to either one of us if you're interested in learning more.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know how it works these days because pre-pandemic, other members invited me out to events.
Mm-hmm.
What is available to people interested in attending events?
Well,
who are non-members?
If people are interested, first of all, we're going to be doing. I don't know when this comes out.
Monday.
Oh, it comes out Monday. Wow. Okay. So in March, and I might want to open up my calendar and look at the specific date. I believe it's March the 9th. And I keep turning my I think it's March the 9th. Bear with me while I look. We're going to be doing a test drive, which is an opportunity for, let me just see. Yeah, March the 9th. See, sometimes my recall works. It's called the Entrepreneurial Experience. And it's going to be downtown Toronto at the National Club. And
oh, fancy.
Yeah, we're doing a National Club event. And we're going to walk people through what our strategic partners have to offer in terms of complementary services that can help their businesses. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we're also having regional leadership from all over, from Entrepreneurs Organization, talk about all of the amazing things that you have access to that you probably don't know you have access to. Like there's amazing discounts and services that we as members get access to, like dozens and dozens and dozens of offers that some of the things we use every day in our business that mm-hmm. we may not be aware of. Mm-hmm. And before it, I'm inviting people who are interested to come to what I call the test drive. Or I don't call it, it's called a membership test drive, where you can come and experience and hear a little bit about what EO is all about and experience a little bit about what this forum thing is all about. Mm-hmm. And then you can stick around and join us for the entrepreneurial journey, the entrepreneurial experience event at the National Club. So if
is that dinner and drinks?
Dinner, drinks, schmoozing, you get to meet partners that we work with, you get to meet all the members, and you get to meet the regional leadership too. Mm-hmm. So it's a real opportunity. If you're interested and you have a business that qualifies, you should definitely come for that 90-minute test drive before, and then come afterwards for the party. The event, I should say. It's not a party. There's a little bit of party, but a lot of experience as well.
It's like open food and bar. This kind of a party on a weeknight.
But I hope people, and if you're interested in that, just reach out to me, and I'll make sure that you get an invite.
All right, awesome. Okay. Info at
kindlerandcompany.com.
I'll have that in the show notes, folks.
Perfect.
If you're driving, you don't need to do whatever. All right. So yes, I would define you as a successful entrepreneur.
Thank you.
But it hasn't always been successful. But let's start with the successes. You're big time. You're quite wealthy. Right? I bring it up because a lot of marketers are out there telling people quit your job, become self-employed.
Yeah.
I'll argue not everyone's fit to be
agreed
to be self-employed. You know, as an example, a friend of mine, a bit of a mentor when I used to work for IBM, his thing was just even be a consultant. To go from employed to becoming to a consultant, he said, I need double. I need to be paid double because of all the BS that comes with being a consultant. For example, collecting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'd almost argue the same for anyone for being in business for yourself as well. You should be trying to earn at least double what you earn as a salary. And then I'll even throw in like this is not the time to try to become a full-time real estate investor. It's just everything is so much more difficult than ever.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you chose the difficult path.
I did. I didn't know it at the time, but I have chosen it, and I'm glad I did. I guess it is the the road less traveled,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Could you tell us about maybe your first business?
Sure. My first business was so I was in comedy, and we can talk about that too if you'd like. But I was in comedy. I'd had this experience as a writer and director and performer in a comedy troupe. And I think it was around that time that my wife was pregnant. I was like, I think I need to start making more money. And so I had this idea that, hey, we could start selling what we're doing for fun and making a little bit of money on it to corporate audiences. So literally being a competitor to the Second City, like who does corporate improv, etc. So improv workshops, custom performances for large events.
No, just apologies in case anyone doesn't not familiar with Second City. I know Second City for going to improv shows.
Yeah.
And they have an incredible list of alumni.
Yeah, I mean, the Second City includes John Candy, Andrea Martin, Joe Flaherty.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers was there. Yeah, so you have people who are on the main stage who performed there. And then they have a school that takes people through from level 1 to master classes. I did school, and I had my own sketch troupe from a bunch of people that were some of them that were in that school with me, and we ended up having we did shows at there's a legendary bar downtown called the Rivoli.
Mm-hmm.
So we did monthly shows there. We did regular shows at the Second City,
mm-hmm.
and we toured different bars and clubs across Canada, and we had our own TV show
mm-hmm.
on CBC for a period of time too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because one of my first impressions of you, actually, the impression took some time to build, but my impression was, wow, Nick's really funny. Because you're the president, you introduce a lot, you open a lot of shows, you open a lot of meetings. Like, well, Nick's funny. Like, how do you do that? And then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, he's ex Second City. Okay, I got it.
Well,
you did it for a living.
I'm not a joke teller. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I have tried stand-up, and I have nothing but admiration for the people who can do that so well, because it's a craft. But for years I did improv, and I put myself out there, and we failed every week on stage in front of people. I've been heckled and booed, and then I've been cheered, and some of my highest moments were in front of a live studio audience at the CBC studios here in Canada. For those listening elsewhere, that's downtown. We were getting, standing ovations and people cheering and people crying with laughter as we finish our performance. So I've experienced the highs and the lows of performance, and when you do that, you also learn how to manage through and muddle through when things aren't going well. I need 5 more minutes. Okay, I need to change gears. You learn how to read a room. So that's one of the reasons why I have that skill set.
Interesting. So you've actually learned a lot thinking on your feet. You've experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of outside your comfort zone.
Almost daily. Yeah.
Right. And then you thought you'd build a business around this.
Well, it's funny you say that. So you asked what my first business was. So just to answer that was a business called Creative Performance that was kind of consulting and doing workshops and building shows for large corporate audiences. I had a business partner who was also my housemate in university, my friend Ron Tite, who's now has an exceptional agency, Church and State, and is a 2-3-time author and an incredible keynote speaker. So he's a very good friend, but we were business partners for a very short period of time. That was my first business.
Mm-hmm. And then you still do a lot of these things for your current clientele, do you not? In your current business?
I offer workshops, but not necessarily improv workshops. There are performance aspects to the work that I do, for sure.
Yes.
So
it was just to clarify, because I attended your workshop for free.
You did. I gave it
I
as a
paid
gift.
nothing.
Yeah,
Wow.
I gave it as a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for the listeners' benefit, it was a gorgeous venue in Ernst & Young's downtown Toronto Tower, and I don't know what they call that area, but it's probably their entertainment area for their high-end clients.
Yep.
I don't know how I got invited, but it cost me nothing.
You almost got me to spit up the water there.
We got lunch and dinner. We get to attend your 2-day workshop on how to give a TED Talk in a day.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of extrapolated between the two, and even though it's not improv, it is. We were out of our comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
Having to learn how to give presentations.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of what I do. So my current business, which is named after me, very selfishly, self-centeredly, Kindler and Company, we help innovative leaders become better communicators. And, I look at anybody that's trying to grow a business, make change, do things differently. They're an innovator. And especially if they're a decision maker within an organization, they are a leader. And so we have a number of different programs, and that was our TED Talk in a Day program. And that one is like a sprint, right? You were part of it. It's like we go through the fundamentals of how to give, communicate clearly, how to pitch, how to present, how to communicate. And then all the way along you're building, and then we got you up on your feet, and you delivered a nice little crisp, I think it was the test drive of your keynote from your conference.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I tried some stuff out.
Yeah.
I would say I was not nearly as good as the other people, though.
You were great. You were great. And what's awesome about that day, and I do those all the time. I was out west working with Mark Anthony Group with their winemakers just a few weeks ago, doing a multi-day program like this. And so I work with leaders and organizations, helping them and deliver these both virtually and in person. And what's always amazing to me is you get these folks who are very, very quiet at the beginning, or they seem reserved, or they'll ask me, because I do coaching, we one-on-one, I'll connect with them out throughout the day to try and ensure that their messaging is moving forward, it's getting clearer and clearer. And then these folks get up and they just deliver these awe-inspiring messages.
Yeah, coming out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And so there's some really great, it's an opportunity to evolve very quickly as a leader and show people what you're made of and what you can do.
And just for the listeners' benefit, I'll define leaders in many things, because I believe you have academic leader clients.
I do. Yeah.
So my kids are in public speaking classes, and for the first time on the report card, there was a quote from Warren Buffett. I don't know if you know this one.
No, I've heard of Warren.
But the quote was something around the lines of invest in how to speak, because as smart as you are, if you can't convey it, nobody knows.
Actually, I've heard that. I've heard that him say that, and yeah, it's true. I think. Look, I think. You made a comment earlier about, so is that why you do what you do? Like, and fundamentally, I followed the unique ability approach to building my business. I'd actually just very quickly, I'd gone from running that business that I mentioned to becoming being part, and I worked for an agency for a period that did meetings and conferences, ran my own meetings and conferences agency for more than 10 years. And while I did that, I learned about this concept of the unique ability. And I realized unique ability, by the way, comes from the strategic coach Dan Sullivan, I believe. He may have got it from somewhere else, but that's where I learned it from. And Dan Sullivan defines unique ability as something that you're excellent at and that you love doing.
Yeah, I get the
because
impression
there's
you love
things you
doing
may
this.
be excellent at that you don't love doing, and there may be things that you love doing that you're not excellent at. Right? Like, I love playing tennis, not excellent at it, right? Yeah. But my unique ability, I realized as I was going through that program, was I love helping people get clear. And so part of what I was doing in that older business was doing that. But my current business is built completely focused on helping leaders get clear, helping many people get clear at a time, and through workshops and one-on-one coaching and online programs. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we go about it. But that to me is really important for any entrepreneur. So if you're an investor, what's your unique ability, and what are you really good at, and what are you passionate about? And then build your business on that. And hopefully it's on investing in real estate, because that's this podcast is all about.
It's not just that, because I've said many times on the show, like I don't love being a landlord, but I love where it gets me. Like for example, Cherry and I lose no sleep about our financial future. Right. I know my kids are taken care of. Yeah. Right. That's what it gets me. Like for example, I had a call. I literally had a text from my tenant on December 24th. The furnace isn't working. I'm like, oh
man, that's a bad call.
Yeah, it's a bad call. I make 2 phone, but thankfully
I fixed it.
I've been at this long enough. I make 2 phone calls. I find one of my HVAC guys goes, and then thankfully it was really minor. Nice. One of my tenants, their patio umbrella had blown up against the house and was blocking the air intake for the furnace. So it was that easy. Just remove it, put it away, right? Okay. So the problem, at least, it was a really, really inexpensive fix. Yeah. But pain in the butt. But in the very grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. Yeah. I think people deal with way worse things as an employer.
Yeah. But your business is. I mean, that's one part of your business. But you have. I mean, you train people. You. There's a lot in your business. And so, if you don't mind me asking, what would you say your unique ability is? What you're excellent at and what you love to do? Because my guess is it's in this business.
Just an observation, like if I could step back and just observe what I do. Like for example, the conversations I have with people, I find I generally know a lot more than they do. Like for example, before we were talking, like I told you were successful. I'm like, am I? Like, it's true. I talk to a lot of people. I have a lot of clients. I have 400 clients. Yeah. I speak. This is gonna be like the 280th podcast episode.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And pretty much everyone on the show, crazy successful. So I have context, and for the last 2 years, I've been saying a lot because of the amount of fake news that's been coming out, or like the amount of sound bites and the cancel culture. Like you said this. In the full context, right? Yeah. I always finding myself saying that in the full context, it's this. Like, it's a completely different story. Right. So I find I have a lot of context, and that seems to be my advantage over many other businesses and operators, is because I've just been around a long time, and also just my drive for continuous improvement.
Right. So I was just going to add to that. Like, not only are you knowledgeable, but you're curious. You're constantly right, learning, reading. Yeah. I mean, these books aren't here for show, right? You love to read. You love to go. That's why you're also at a lot of the EO events and
taking your workshop.
And so interesting. You like to provide information and you like to learn, and so you've built a business focused on a particular niche that does exactly that.
And before we're recording, about being liked.
Yeah,
I'm very well liked by my clients.
Good. Yeah,
because they've done very well.
Right.
Right. So and that to me is the ultimate reward for what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else is painful.
But this is the reality for the world of entrepreneurship is. Oh my goodness! Like the lumps and pains and blows that you gotta to the body that you gotta take as you go along. Hopefully they lessen over time, or maybe you just get more calloused. Like they're still there.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's hard. It can be very hard.
Speaking of, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah.
No.
You've had some business. Less successes?
Yeah, I have. Look, I've been very open about this in the past. You might be able to find stuff, me sharing some. I did a talk on failure once, and I shared very openly about how failure has served me. And I believe failure is something that serves us if to borrow the expression, we fall forward or we fail forward. So if we fall backwards, we're further behind than when we started.
Mm-hmm.
But if we fall forward, we're still further ahead. Right?
Can you share the story?
What I did? Yeah. What happened? Sure. I mean, which failure story are you looking for? All joking aside, I'll share it. Because here's the thing. I know I'm joking and I'm putting off telling the story, but we fail every day. And if we're not failing, we're not trying. So
that's a great point. All right.
Absolutely.
You'll never. I find even myself.
Yeah.
So many people fail to start because they're so afraid of failing.
Yeah. Just try.
But everyone who's successful has failed many times.
Yeah, my brother, who's my best friend and my biggest fan, and I'm his biggest fan, has always encouraged me to just go for it. You've got it. This is your, like, you've got, what's the worst can happen? And that question is amazing. What's the worst thing that can happen? It's never what you think. So I did experience what I thought would have been the worst thing that could happen. And this was post 2008. I had an agency. We'd grown it from bootstrap, zero funds put in, to at its highest point, it was a $4.5 million in revenue agency. We worked with some of the top pharma, packaged goods, retail, and tech businesses in Canada. Producing their national sales meetings, product launches, internal communication, newsletters, and all kinds of media that we would do for them. And then post 2008, pharma was a big part of our clientele, and there's something called the patent cliff, where in pharma, post 2008, all the big pharma companies dropped in revenue by, some of them, almost in half.
Oh boy.
And so our revenue dropped and dropped and dropped, and I started investing.
Sorry, so just a point of clarification. Patent drop as in they can no longer legally defend their products.
That's right, sell their products, or they could sell them but defend them, because now a patent, a generic brand of that brand will come out, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, because they didn't have to pay for the R&D and the marketing. They can
No. And there's a service that pharma plays, right? And I'm a big believer in that model.
Yeah, because they're paying for all the research.
They're bringing solutions to the table.
They're the one risking their necks.
Yeah, and their investors are too, right? And their investors are.
Yeah.
So we had grown, we'd shrunk. I had put money in for cash flow purposes to keep us afloat. I did not belong to EO. Did not know it existed. And by the way, everything that's happening comes next might have gone differently if I'd belonged to EO. I actually think it probably would have. I'd had partnership challenges for about a year. You know, when things are not going very well in a business, partnerships usually get rocky. And
money changes everything in relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I had offered to buy her out. At the time, we couldn't come to any resolution. And then we hit a point about 8 to 10 months later when we were at the end of the road. And this was very daunting. The end of the road, there's really only a couple of things we could do. I would have to convince my wife that I would throw another $100,000 into this business to keep it afloat for a little bit of time. We would have to close the doors, send everybody home, or choose 3 people and try and figure out how to just work on one client. And what we decided to do, because we weren't working well together anymore, was we were going to lose our shirts, meaning all the money we'd put in, we would commit to completing every project that was on the books, and we would lay off our staff and close the doors.
Oh, damn.
So it was about a 2-month process. And then we had to, in order to do that, the business had to declare bankruptcy. And that was one of the worst days of my life. Now, I've had worse days. And I've had lots of level sets since. That day's nothing. Right? I mean, money and the business was important to me. I've got a whole bunch of other priorities now and ways that I can level set things. But just know at the time, it was terrible. And when I was done, I thought, with all due respect to professional baristas, I was going to end up as a barista at Starbucks. That was my mindset.
You were that low.
That low. So what did I do? I thought, okay, I need people to know how to reach me. So I created a new URL with my name in it. I sent out an email to all of my clients to say, hey, you know this already, because I'd called every single client to let them know what was happening. And by the way, most of those clients said, why didn't you tell me? We could have helped you.
Oops.
Why didn't you tell me?
Where were you 2 months ago?
Yeah. Well, we didn't talk about the problem. We kept it to ourselves. We were ashamed about how we've managed cash flow. We were ashamed about how we lost this business and lost that business. But we still had core clients. Mm. So I created this URL, kindlerandcompany.com, and I sent out an email to about, 100, 150 people, clients, saying, hey, you know, but if you need to reach me for any reason, here's my email. Here's my phone number. Within minutes, I got emails back saying, hey, can we talk? Within days, I got offers of work, and I started up a mini virtual coaching and agency. Within months, I had recovered financially because I had no overhead. And within the year, I'd more than recovered, and I was making a great income. But more importantly is I started to focus on my unique ability, 100%. And I created a product that I thought, or a service, I should say. I remember sitting with my good friend, Rob Drynan, who is a great EOS implementer, entrepreneurial operating system implementer here in Toronto.
Love EOS. I learned EOS through EO.
You can see the book behind you, the Gino Wickman book. Anyways, I remember sitting with him, coffee for a few times, like, what if I created a coaching subscription only for senior leaders to help them get clear on their messaging? He's like, well, yeah, I could try it. And he was very supportive about the model and ideas. And I sold one, and then I sold another, and then I created programs, and things really started to take off. That's part one of the story. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, sure. This is fascinating. Out of like going down in burning flames,
Yeah, it was a pretty quick turnaround. I was full of shame and embarrassment. I feel I couldn't talk about it for a long time. And then I realized that that needed to happen. I needed to go through that to learn what I was good at, what happened. And then, by the way, I'm going to fast forward. This is not part of the story, but when I joined EO, going back to that, and my first forum experience, and we did this exercise where we shared everybody's life experience, lifeline experience, I actually got choked up, emotional, because I heard from at least 4 of the people in my forum the same story, and some of them went through it 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where was this organization? Numbers 10 years ago. Anyways,
you're not alone.
Not alone.
You're not alone at all.
And going back to at the beginning of when we talked about mental health, I'm going to say it to the camera. Is that my camera there? You're not alone. If you're watching this, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not.
You're not.
It's never. Yeah. It's never too much. You may feel like it.
You have relationship problems, marital problems, money problems, investment problems, business problems, work problems. Yeah. You're not alone.
You're not. You're not. So the long and the short of it is I did that business. And then my father got very sick. And I was a solopreneur at that point. I hadn't scaled that business at all. And so I took a moment in my life and I paused. I reduced my income. I made a conscious choice to turn down opportunities. And I worked with my mom and my dad during his decline, and he passed away. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay, let's start again. I volunteered at TEDx Toronto. I volunteered at the United Way. I started to go like, let's go out into the community again. Let's learn and see what it's all about. The TEDx thing was highly informative and formative. And I met an individual there, and we started a new company that took a lot of the things I started with, this coaching model, and elevated it. We turned that into a fairly successful $1.5 million coaching business. Just to be clear, that's a high margin business. Unfortunately, after about 3 or 4 years, I experienced some challenges with my business partner. There were some trust issues that we both had, and we decided to part ways. I sold my shares in that business and relaunched Kindler and Company just as COVID came into town. So I've gone through it all, man. Like, I've gone through the highs of winning big programs, of building and scaling. I've gone through the lows of losing my business. I've gone through the experience of challenging partnerships. And I've also gone through the experience of trying to grow a business during it wasn't an official recession, but during COVID.
I think technically it was.
Yeah.
Until all the money, the government just spent like crazy.
Yeah. So, and I can tell you right now, my business is thriving. I worked really hard, day in and day out, to continue to build and grow, find the right team, work with amazing clients, and amazing people. I've got strategic partners and people that I work with that just are exceptional at what they do, and my team is exceptional at what they do, and my clients who trust me are exceptional at what they do.
So there's a lot to unpack here.
All right, sorry if I went on.
No, it's totally fine. It's just we have so much more to unpack. So congratulations on your success.
Thank you. I mean, again, it's a journey, man. I don't look at it as done.
No, I'm trying to pull some lessons out of you as a successful entrepreneur. Sure. I want to pass on some lessons to our clients. Yeah. So you've grown a business really quickly from nothing in the middle of a terrible time. Like it was during COVID. Like, a lot of people froze their budgets. A lot of people are freezing their budgets now too. Yeah. Depending on what industry, but yeah, like tech, for example, crypto. Like, they're all freezing their budgets. Letting people go. Yeah. What I want to ask is, like, can you categorize, like, what are the 3 things that you have to do every quarter or month or week to move your business forward? So again, apologies. I've been reading Miracle Morning, so it's a recency bias. Yeah. It's like, there's all these things we should do. I should walk the dog. I should work out. Like, remove everything. And what are the 3 key things you need to do for? This is an investing podcast. We'll keep it to business. What are the 3 key things you have to do for your business? For example, like for most investors, I would say business development. You need to be making really good connections, build really strong relationships with really important people on your business, on your power team, as we call it. So often your realtor, your property manager, your handy person, your mortgage person.
Okay, so I may cheat and this might become 4 things instead of 3, but I think, honestly, you have to start with your health. You're going to be hit. We talked about this. You're pummeled, right? And time and again, even as things are going great, there's curveballs all the time. And if you're not healthy and focusing on some fundamentals, so your morning
Miracle is the
Morning
book.
Miracle. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. I honestly think that taking care of yourself is first. So I know that probably isn't what you're looking for from a business development perspective or a business growth perspective, but you can't manage the insanity of it, because it is crazy to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that as a, hey, look what I do. I'm a marathoner or a triathlete, or look, I'm amazing. It's just kind of crazy what entrepreneurs do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. That'd be my first thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the second thing, I do agree with business development 100%. One of my forum mates, when I was going through one of my tough times during the early parts of COVID and I was struggling, he's like, you don't have a business if you're not selling anything. And so figure out your pipeline. Like, get your pipeline as full as possible of potential and then qualified leads. I'm assuming that people are very clear on what their product is, so we don't need to get into that here as a key thing. I guess one other thing that I've spoken about quite a bit in my coaching recently and in conversation with others, and another, again, my forum mate said this to me, because I remember having this lunch, and I was like at this turning point going, I felt like a turning point, like, I keep hitting this brick wall, people aren't meeting, he goes, he said, have you asked for help? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, ask them for help. I said, I don't understand. And he's got several businesses, very successful entrepreneur. He goes, I ask my clients, and these are very successful leaders, for help all the time. That's how I get stuff done.
Could you give an example
of the help I ask for?
Yeah, or like an example from one of your clients.
Because
I have a big ego. I have trouble.
Many of us do.
Yeah.
And I know there's an aversion to asking for help,
mm-hmm.
especially in the entrepreneurial side of things.
Because generally we're all very driven and
right.
and
we know
personality.
The answers. We know the answers, but we don't.
We at least put on the face that we know all the answers.
Right. So what's an example of this? I'm not going to use names because I want to be very respectful of the people that I work with. Had an idea, working with an amazing colleague of mine, that we could come up with a new solution that would help organizations. How I work with leaders and groups of leaders, one-on-one and with groups, to get really clear on their message. Well, organizations suffer from this in a big way. I mean, marketing's not talking to product's not talking to HR is not talking to whatever it is. It's siloed communication. We've seen it time and again. And part of it is there's translation issues. Sometimes there's just barriers in general. So I had this idea, like, what if we took this idea of like the one-on-one, but we figured out a process to help organizations across. And I worked with my friend and colleague on developing a process. And during one of my coaching sessions with one of my clients, who's a brilliant leader and just such a lovely person, I said, I'm hearing that you have this problem. I might have this solution. We're developing this thing. Can I ask you, would it be helpful? And can I help you? And could you help me just if I share this with you? He said, yeah, that'd be great. Because two things happen, right? I might be able to help you and you might be able to help me. But number one, people want to help. Like, if I were to call you, I mean, you'd need to know me, but if I were to call you and say, hey, Erwin, can I get your help on something? I've got this idea. I want to build a podcast studio like this. How do you do that? What would you say to me? Not now? Right. Like, there's a part of you that would go, yeah, I'd like to help, like, because I got this. I have knowledge, and you like to have knowledge, and that's one of your knowledge, and sharing the knowledge. That's your, as we talked about earlier, your unique ability. So I share this model. He's like, this is really interesting. Can we talk about this with my team? So we go and have a meeting with the team. Proposal, a large project. Because I asked him for help.
Right.
I didn't go in asking for the business.
Mm-hmm.
I went in asking for help.
Mm-hmm. So the real estate analogy is for my clients, especially if they're looking to find partners within their community or their family to help to join them in their real estate journey. Is I'll often tell them, like, go ask them if they'll go to coffee, and the help would be, can I share with you what I'm trying to do? Right?
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. If you've got a new product or service, if you're unsure about how to approach something, it's why EO exists. Going back to this forum again, it's you asking for help. In fact, today, I'm doing a presentation on a new product and service because I want validation from my colleagues to say, what would you do differently? How could this work?
All right, we can move on to number 4.
What's that?
You said there's 4 things.
I said, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
A pipeline of business. Ask for help.
Yeah.
I guess, and it's not like I planned this because I'm going to walk away from here going, oh, I want to say this.
Oh.
But for
Don't
me,
worry, no one gets their questions in advance.
Yeah. So honestly, I would say systems and processes. Like everything can be systematized and put into a process. And I'm not a systems thinker, although my friend and colleague told me the other day he thought I was really good at it. And I was like, I'm more of a creative, person. I like to come up with new ideas. But when I start to see people doing stuff, like my team, and if it's taking them an amount of time, all I can think of is, what systems can we put in place? What tools can we potentially purchase? How are other people doing this faster? And that's not in an effort to be ultra profitable. It's an effort to make life easier, because life's better when it's easier.
Yes, we're all busy.
Yeah, so I would say systems and processes. Why, EOS I'm a believer in. I like to have my coaching has a model. My whole book that I wrote is all based on core principles and a model that we follow. So I'm a big believer in using these models to simplify our lives.
That's a great segue into your book. What's it called?
Impact. Simplify, transform, perform pitches and presentations.
Where can people buy it?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, every online retailer. You can go to impactbook.ca and you'll find videos and testimonials and access to where you can buy it.
Excellent. I have a copy, not here.
Yeah, I should have brought another copy. Sorry, I should have, so I could be doing this. But yeah, it's available at all online book sellers and all over the world.
Fabulous. Now, this is an investment show, and we're running out of time. We're actually over time. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, I'm loving the conversation. I love chatting with you.
We can honestly keep you for another 3 hours minimum. This is an investor show. And before we're recording, I said, you're successful. You're quite well off. Why would you want to invest in real estate? Because that's like some of the conversations we had is you're interested in investing in real estate. Yeah,
and you and I have chatted about this before the show, and I know some of your teams that I'm working with and on looking for investment properties.
Great time, by the way.
Yeah. So why am I interested in it?
Yeah.
Or why should somebody be?
Because a very common question for the show is like, why do this? Why be an investor in real estate? Because it's different for you.
It is. It's a total departure, and as you know, I've been anxious about it. It's nerve-wracking for me because I'm a hands-off investor. I'm like a let it sit and grow kind of, minimum X number of years kind of thing.
Right.
And that's not that this isn't that, but there's a little more stuff to do. But why am I interested in it, and why would I recommend it? is, first of all, it works. I mean, it works. It has significant growth opportunity. It actually, if you can find the properties that cash flow for the amount or less, for example, even if it doesn't, for the amount of joining a good club or a gym a month, you can have a growing asset. That's, and I'm not, I've been looking at my the different properties with Chris, and $120, $300. Like my wife and I paid more for that for our gym membership, and you own a property, and then at the end of 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, you can liquidate, or you can take the income from it and buy more. Like it's a pretty great model. So if you're looking for why would I do it? Why would I recommend it? Because it works.
What kept you from doing it sooner?
No.
To me, it's a rhetorical question because I know you're really busy.
Well, and what keeps me from doing more of it and sooner is time, and education. Like I think your podcast and all the videos that you do, and I think it's important work. I say this to a lot of people about everybody has a purpose, and if people can understand that this isn't a frivolous thing to do. Oh. It's not a throwing money at something and hoping it sticks kind of thing. It works, but it's time. The reason I haven't done it is time and knowledge, like just education.
We can help you with that.
Yeah. And you have been.
I forget who I was talking to yesterday. I was explaining that our business is basically to set you up with a franchise. Systems are all in place. The people are all in place. You just need to put up the money and get a mortgage. Yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah. That's what we try to do.
What's that?
It's what we try to do. Make it easy.
It's a brilliant model. It's a brilliant business. Seriously, kudos. Like I think it's amazing.
It's just every day for us. So it's kind of funny because kind of what you mentioned before about like reading the news too early in the day. I did that for a long time, reading the news too early in the day, because especially now, like leading headlines are always Ukraine.
It's depressing, and I think we should know it, but it's when should we know it? Anyway, sorry,
not first thing in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because I consume so much, I'd actually argue I consume too much. Because I say that because it feeds into my analysis paralysis, and honestly, if I was just doing more business stuff, more investing stuff in that time, rather than just trying to be so knowledgeable, I'd probably make more money. I know this because I've belonged to a lot, like my previous mastermind, which is all real estate investors.
Yeah.
I found I knew a lot. I'm not saying I knew a lot more about economics than they did, but I definitely spent more time understanding how the world was working, monetary policy, all those sorts of complicated things. They're out there investing, just killing it. Yeah. So they have larger portfolios. So like, you have a larger portfolio, you're going to outperform me. Yeah. Right. Versus I'm just like, just keep consuming. But then kind of like to your point earlier, you have to get started. So I always suffer from like, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing?
That is me too. And I think if you can do, if there's a way to help people remove that analysis paralysis, which is exactly what I suffer from, especially in getting into this kind of investment, it'd be amazing.
Right. I'll share some stuff with you. I have to give a webinar this Friday on a macroeconomic update, and the research. So it's like, I'm not ready for this. And then so this morning during my miracle morning, I got up early. I was like, I created my outline, like took 20 seconds because I research this stuff all the time.
And this is what happens with our brains too, right? We're thinking, this happens to me all the time. Like, I got to do this. And then I'm like, I obviously have been thinking about this.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it for a long time. But yeah, all signs point to owning hard assets. Did you know we had 800,000 new people in Canada in the last 12 months?
I did read that. And I also read that it's only going to go up based on forecasting. Yeah.
Because as much as
I was going to say, I think that's exciting, and for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah. I think it's exciting for them because I think people always forget. I find a lot of Canadians forget to be grateful for what we have. And that's the lovely thing about traveling. You travel, like I was just in Dominican Republic, for example. Like,
oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
But oh boy, is Canada nicer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
My point being is that like climate change is a real thing and is affecting many countries really badly, which drives part of the reason why people want to come to Canada.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's only going to keep going.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Nick, any final thoughts you want to share? I asked so many questions, so.
You know what? You've asked some great questions. I've loved chatting with you.
I do have one more for you then.
Okay. Absolutely. Shoot, man. Shoot.
I forget why we were on the topic. I study philosophy of many things.
Oh, nice.
Again, just spending way too much time in my head and studying stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of the business philosophies and observations that I've noticed is that some people, rightly or wrongly, because someone fails in their business relationship, thinks they're a bad person. A good example in the real estate industry is property managers. The turnover is high, as in there's a lot of companies don't stick around. And so often their clients say, that's a bad person. The tenants will say, that's a bad person. And what I see as an outside observer is they tried their best. They just couldn't do it. It's a tough business.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if that necessarily makes them an evil person. So we were talking about earlier before we were recording is like, are you a bad person if your business fails?
Well, if that's the case, then I've been a bad person for many years.
Well, we're going to cut this podcast short.
And here's what I actually do know is I'm not a bad person. In fact, I live my life with core values and behaviors. I treat people with respect, and when I don't, I apologize. And because I'm human, I'm fallible. And this isn't me kind of giving myself a pat on the back. It's me pointing out that we fail all the time. And we talked about failure earlier in our chat today. I don't think if somebody's business fails, they're a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
They may have made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Mistakes does not equate with bad. Mistakes equate with error and perhaps misjudgment.
Mm-hmm.
If they've made a series of decisions knowing that the outcome is going to cause X or Y, impact the lives of people, take money from people, then you've got a values issue. But if you're operating on trying to be true to your values, mm-hmm. and the world somehow presents these challenges that you are not able to overcome, it does not make you a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. You're human. Life is long. It's a marathon, not
mm-hmm.
a sprint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in that marathon, and I've done 4 of them, it's painful. The training's hard.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when you're doing it that you just think you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
You're in pain, but you keep going. And in my morning routine, often the last words I write at the end of every session is keep going.
So normally I would say we end it there, but just to give context where the question comes from is because anyone who's been investing in the last 2 years, especially if they started in the last 2 years, they're probably hurting. Their investments likely are not performing well. Stock market, crypto, right. Real estate, anything. Yeah. I don't think anything's doing well.
No.
And my point is, doesn't mean they're a bad person.
Gosh, no. Your business is an entity that you drive. Your business shouldn't drive you. You drive your business. And you might have other people that help you drive it. If your business is struggling, you are not the business. Because that's really what I'm trying to get at. You are not the business. It may feel like it. It may feel like Oh, well, I'm going to become a barista, which is what I thought, because that business was in the toilet and I'm a bad person for failing. You are not. You are not the business. And the sooner you learn, anybody learns that you are not the business, the better. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to do. I haven't mastered it. I'm working on it every day. But cash flow and revenue and all these challenges and hitting targets or missing targets, whatever it is, that's not you. You is the relationships you have, the people who love you not for the cash flow. They don't love you for the revenue. They love you because you're a good person, because you're kind, because you do nice things, because you're funny, because you're a good father, you're a good husband, or you're a good wife. Whatever it is that, whoever you are, they love you for you, not for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you should be carrying forward. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think it's perfect. Yeah. And I'll just add to that, it's been 2-3 years. I think you need a larger sample size. Let's see. We'll revisit. If you think you're a bad investor now, let's revisit you in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think we gotta let you go, Nick.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, man. Great chatting. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.